This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And I just want to clear one thing up here, Matt, before we start today's show. Unlike other shows, you and I, much like Tom Cruise, we perform all of our own stunts.
We do? What shows don't? I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay.
Right over, Justin laughed. That went right over your head.
I thought there was something about...
I trimmed some more of your hair off on your recently
I got a little trim.
Head. Yeah.
First time. I thought there were shows... I don't know. No, I'm going to not even go down that road because I missed it.
We
but
perform all of our own stunts. You got it, didn't you? Anyways. So, Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan had their press conference today. And, no real information was passed.
They didn't say we're taking this guy in round one?
They did not.
Yeah.
Because apparently they don't have a plan. There's no plan for the draft.
They're just going to willy-nilly it, right?
Yeah, they're just going to go in and see what happens. No, Omar Khan did say that, he and Andy Weidel and the rest of the scouting crew had been sitting down to go through mock draft scenarios.
No, I'm sure.
Not mock drafts per se, but what they think each team is going to do.
Not like our mock drafts.
Right.
Like you're just going, what are they thinking?
Yeah. And, so they're coming up with a pretty good idea of what they feel is going to happen. But he said, look, we're not going to trade away. We'd like to trade, so we're probably not going to trade up.
That makes all
we
sense.
We don't have a second round pick.
And and all of a sudden your needs aren't met.
We could either pick and stick and pick at 21 if there's a player there that we really like, or we could move down. And I think the move down is a real option for them this year.
Yeah, and we do it often in our mocks, and it's easier, obviously, on Pro Football Focus mock draft database or whatever. But it makes so much sense for them, and they don't have to end up with a second-round pick, but just another day two.
A day two pick, yeah. I think that's the sweet spot in this draft, day two. And they've only got one pick on day two right now. Now, he did say, look, we're really happy we got DK Metcalf. Great, we'd do that again, but I think they'd really like to get another day two pick.
So it sure sounds like, just to kind of get this out of the way, it sure doesn't sound like they're trading up for Shedeur Sanders or Dart.
They're not trading up for anybody.
For a quarterback. They're not going to trade up. Now, I wonder, how will the league interpret what he said about, will they take a quarterback at 21? Do we have to get ahead of the Steelers if we want a quarterback? I mean, they're not going to tell us that, but how does the league look at that? Trading down, though, makes so much sense. I mean, I think their quote is, we're never going to trade away from a good player. And I'm sure there's 5 names or 3 names or 1 name that if that guy's there, we're just going to take him. I can't believe he's there. We're thrilled. That's ideal. I'm not trading away from him. But if there's several that you're pretty equally happy with, man, trading down makes a lot of sense.
Another pick on day two that you're going to be really happy with.
Right. Because not to mention, too, let's say you go to 25. We've brought up the Texans a million times. Maybe they want Connerly or Simmons or one of the tackles or whatever, and they have extra picks. Okay, and you pick up their third. Nice. But that doesn't mean you just sit there and wait for the third round to hit, too. You have future picks. If there's someone falling in the middle of round 2.
Move up 10 spots into round 2.
Yeah. It gives you a lot of freedom to then get aggressive, on day 2.
And I think a lot of it depends on what you do in day 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you, for example, let's say they take a running back in round 1.
Say they go to 25 and they end up with Hampton or Henderson or somebody like that. Okay, well, now you might want to get back up in there so you can get a Darius Alexander. So that'd be a little more urgent to get that D lineman then.
Yeah.
I would understand taking a running back in the first round, especially those two, because they both would be impact players and you're going to run the ball a lot. But then it's not as easy from the step 2 is not as easy.
Right. And if you just stick and wait till, let's say it's
Houston's pick or your pick or whatever,
72 or whatever, or 65, those guys might be gone. You have a little control of it. But if you see the opportunity to then strike again, do it.
That's the thing.
You got 11 picks next year.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to use all 11.
Not going to use all 11. You definitely like to get some. You never want to. They're valuable no matter what. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to have. You can make a trade to trade deadline. You might move up in round 1 next year and get the next Bradshaw or Roethlisberger. But you have them sitting in your back pocket, and they're valuable, and you could go get Cam Hayward's replacement possibly or whatever, or what maybe Hampton or Henderson falls into the mid-second round. And wow, I was thinking about him in the first round.
And let's talk about that real quick. We had somebody on the message board. I'm not picking on anybody here, but he made apparently he posted everybody that he drafted. I'm like, wow, that list is really long. So I started counting the players that he did in his mock draft and he got. Yeah. Like 14 players. I'm like, you must have just moved back and just kept picking players. Sounds great in theory.
Right.
But you don't have room for 14 rookies on your roster.
No, they got to make the team. You got to put them somewhere, right? I mean, like, yeah, it'd be nice to have another safety, but it looks like 5 safeties are already making this team. I mean, I'd like to have another inside linebacker, but I think there's 4 or 5 that are fighting for the spots. Like, what are you going to do with them?
And I get the idea that everybody wants the shiny new thing. Well, this guy, I know what this guy is. Mm-hmm. This guy might be better, or he's just different.
Yeah.
Well, they've invested time in, for example, Mark Robinson.
There's something to be said for,
and he's played a lot of special teams.
And, right.
To add 14 rookies to your roster just isn't realistic.
No.
Next year, adding 11 rookies to your roster, probably not realistic.
You would hope the roster's in better shape that it can't handle 11 rookies.
Right.
I mean, that's where you should be at. It's different if you're one of the worst teams in the league, and I just need all new blood.
I'm just going to sweep everybody out and just.
I hope I get 5 starters out of the mix.
The Browns can do that this year. The Browns can add 11 or however many picks they have this year.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had those draft picks the last couple of years. Yeah. They don't have any of that cheap talent on their roster.
Yeah, they're a great example. Or a team like New England, there's a lot of places they could add as many new guys as they could handle. But you would hope the Steelers aren't in that situation.
Yeah, I mean,
they aren't right now.
Realistically, you probably have room for 8 rookies on your roster, maybe 9.
Mm-hmm.
A couple undrafted guys make your roster. That's great. You didn't invest anything in those guys, but that's really. Like as many as you can go.
I'm sitting here off the top of my head. Like if we would push the limits, maybe they could fit in a quarterback, a running back, a tight end, 2 O-linemen, maybe another receiver. I'm stretching.
Yeah.
2 D linemen, maybe an edge, no safeties or inside linebackers, and maybe a corner. And a lot of those, you're cutting a pretty good player.
You're cutting somebody that's going to be playing somewhere else.
Or you're trading them or whatever. I mean, like, all those spots aren't open at the moment. Like, you're getting rid of Logan Lee or one of those defensive linemen you signed. Or, it's what do you do? That would mean Wilson's not with the team or Austin or who knows. I mean, there's not a lot of spots.
No, there aren't. And, you do have to look at the special teams factor of like a Ben Skoranek. All right.
Right.
You draft a rookie wide receiver. Does he make the team over Skoranek? Because Skoranek's going to play a lot. He's going to be one of your top gunners.
Yeah. I mean, like Harrison, Skoranek, Killebrew, Pierre, those guys are going to be hard to cut.
Right.
You signed them for a reason. Yeah. And they're also very familiar. So you don't want to just keep trading down. I mean, trading down's great, but you don't want to just keep doing it over and over.
No, and I don't think they're going to trade down far if they do go down. Because I don't think it would be nice to get a second-round pick because it has the 2 next to it. If you're moving down
that way, right?
Yeah, if you're moving down to the late 20s or even early 30s in a trade, that second-round pick that you're getting is going to be at the end of the second round.
It's going to be 60 or something.
Yeah, is there any difference between doing that and getting pick 68 from somebody who's wants to move back into the first round? Or
it's one of my pet peeves, because a lot of analysts do it. Like, they'd love to get back in the second round. They don't care what round it is. They're just looking at what pick it is.
I want day 2 picks.
Right. I'd love to get somewhere between 50 and 90. Overall.
Or right now, you'd like to get another pick between 21 and 83.
Yeah, just whatever I can get in between.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in round 2. They don't care what round it is.
No.
None of the teams do. They just know I have pick 9, I have pick 99, whatever it is, right.
So I think that's a distinct possibility that the Steelers may do that. And, typically that's something that would take place.
Those talks are happening right now.
Well, I mean, you talk to people about who's willing or who wants to come up, move up or down, but you really don't know for sure until the first 12 or 13 picks are off the board. Okay, none of those offensive tackles have been taken, or 2 of them have been taken. Well, now we better get up there.
Boy, I didn't think Connerly would go in the top 20, but he already did.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. Simmons, wow, Simmons went way earlier than what we thought, or Banks went way earlier than what we thought. So we better get up if we want to get a tackle.
And what would really behoove that, and frankly, I think this is coming, is in those top 20 picks, I bet there's a tackle or 2 that not everyone mocked there. I mean, there might even be one more edge guy that not everyone mocked there. I think teams are going to be like, give me tackles and edge because they're expensive to go get, and I don't love the 6th pick in the draft, so I'm just going to take the best edge rusher or whatever, which would be great for the Steelers. You want those guys to go.
Yeah. In terms of the quarterback stuff, Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan were asked a lot of questions about that. Some Aaron Rodgers stuff as well. They were, I still think that Aaron Rodgers is very much in play here.
Yeah.
I just feel like they know more about the situation than anybody else out there.
Or that they should tell us.
Everybody else is speculating about this, including us or whoever.
Right.
But I feel like they feel that's going to happen at some point.
I mean, even you and I, we've gotten a few breadcrumbs, but we don't know. But they probably know.
They've been the one who've been in contact with him on a consistent basis.
Yeah, they have a strong feeling.
They have a strong feeling about it. I don't know that
they'd do something else if they were worried.
Right.
I mean, like, as we always say, teams tell you what they're thinking. I mean, they have a plan in place here.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin was asked if that impacts what they do in the draft at all, and he said no, not one bit.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think. I mean, folks, they're not going to go into camp with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as their only quarterbacks.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
And Omar Khan said that, look, we always have 4. We're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Now, presumably one of them will be Aaron Rodgers. You would also still have a rookie on your roster somewhere.
Certainly one's going to be Rudolph.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we know for sure, which I think is a really underrated signing. Yeah, I mean, Rudolph has value. I mean, I think that's a nice – if he wasn't in the mix, this would be a disaster.
They like him more than I think most people nationally understand. I think he's very respected in the locker room.
Yeah.
They've played him before in the past, and again, they're not world beaters with Mason Rudolph.
We're not saying he's Roethlisberger, right?
No. But they've shown that they can compete with just about anybody with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. They know they have to play a certain way, but they also know he knows how to play that way.
This is how I maybe I don't have the best fastball in the league, but I can paint the corners, and I'm not going to throw a lot of balls, and I'm going to make you earn every hit. And okay, well, you stay in the league as a 3rd or 4th guy in the rotation for a long time. That there's something to be said for that.
And I think, again, I think the guys in that locker room respect and like him and will play for him if that would be the case. And I think that goes a long way as well.
I think it goes a really long way.
But they would also still obviously like to add to that.
They're gonna
in a big way.
They're gonna. Again, it's not going to be Rudolph and Thompson as your only guys.
No. So I think Mike Tomlin was asked, well, is there a cutoff with training camp or something? No. They would like to have something done long before that, obviously. And if it gets to training camp, then that's too late. But I think it's settled long before that.
I would imagine. I don't know if we'll hear anything between now and they start making draft picks, but I wouldn't think it'd be shortly. It would be shortly after, if we're not.
Yeah, at some point it's going to happen, and hey, he's dealing with stuff. They know what he's dealing with. He knows what he's dealing with. Nobody else knows.
It sounds like there's been a lot of communication.
Yeah, they've been in constant contact. I think when you look at the draft visits and some of the deeper positions in this draft, it's not a mistake. And Khan was asked about that. Like you brought in 9 running backs and 8 defensive linemen. And those are 2 of the deeper spots of draft. He goes, yeah, we brought in that many guys because that just shows you how deep those positions are.
Yeah.
That they would be that interested to bring that many guys in at those positions, and it kind of peppers throughout the draft and where those guys are going to be available.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking about this too. Like, to have that many running backs is, I would think usually you bring in 5 if you're interested. D lineman's different. You're going to keep a lot of them on the roster. You only have 1 spot basically for a running back. But you must be trying to split ties. What's the difference between Tootin and Blue or whoever, I mean, the guys you're going to decide from. Like, well, we spent that day with them. I feel a little better about this guy, or I don't know if he's going to be a good fit, in terms of pass blocking or whatever it is. You're just figuring it out because they're going to draft one of them.
Yeah, they're going to draft
maybe not one of the guys who are here, but they're going to draft a running back.
Yeah, there will be another running back added to the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, he was asked about the situation with George Pickens. And he said, look, we're excited about having both George and DK Metcalf on the roster and on the field this year.
Yeah.
The idea that you simply trade away George Pickens and just replace him in the draft, did we not just see Roman Wilson not be able to get on the field his rookie year?
Right.
Like, all you do is put yourself back into the same situation you were in last year.
Yeah, and this is a worse draft class to do it from.
Yeah.
At that position. Right. I mean, I think teams aren't happy that your opponents aren't happy that you have Metcalf and Pickens. That's hard to defend.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do is create mismatches there. And I think it's pretty well documented that they've kicked the tires on a bunch of receivers in the last year and a half or so. Ayuk, the biggest name, because they've realized this is what you need to win this league. You got to get back people out of off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's something that they needed to address. They've addressed it. Mm-hmm. It was their second-round pick.
Yeah. It's a big addition.
Yeah, he's Omar Khan said, look,
doesn't mean the guy has to go.
We would make that trade again. We love having DK Metcalf on this roster. And quite frankly, if you'd have traded for Ayuk last year, you might have had to give up a first.
Probably would have given up a first, right?
So
you don't have Tanu, and it's a different set of problems.
It's just that's the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it to make your roster better, and I think they've made their roster better by acquiring DK Metcalf. I think you make your roster worse by trading away George Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just filling a need and then creating the same need again.
Yeah.
Now, there will be some gymnastics in terms of when do you pay him and all that stuff, but don't worry about that now. Just go try to win games.
They're not going to do anything with Pickens
now.
Right. He's under contract. He's going to be playing for a contract.
Mm-hmm. Might get a really good year out of it.
Let it play out. Yeah,
right.
Let it play out.
Yeah, I agree. There's no rush for that at all.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Albert Breer on SI.com put together a little piece here on the quarterbacks available in this draft. And both Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan saying today that there are some good quarterbacks available in this draft. They see some potential there.
Yeah. I understand that.
But when you look at it, they're not going to reach for a quarterback.
Right.
At any point in this draft.
I mean,
they're
definitely
just
not trading
going to
up from 21 to get one of these guys. And I can't see, well, we think he's a third rounder. We're going to trade up to the 40th pick in the draft.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, right.
Just won't happen.
Which I totally understand.
So Breer put together a piece here that breaks down. He talked to a bunch of different scouts and GMs and people of that nature anonymously.
Yeah.
To get their true thoughts on this quarterback draft class.
And the best guys to talk to are the ones that already have the quarterback.
Right.
The Bills scout, the Bengals scout. They got no skin in the game,
So here's what some of the people had to say here. For Cam Ward, the comparison for him is a sawed-off Ben Roethlisberger.
I see some of that. I mean, that's high praise, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a gunslinger. He's a playmaker. He's mentally tough. A little raw coming out of school. I mean, I see some of that.
An NFC coordinator on Cam Ward said he's the best one. He has a great arm talent, really good accuracy, can escape. He's got a quick release. He can throw from different angles. To me, it's clear that he's number one.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think he's getting a short change when compared to last year's class. I've heard a lot of people saying, well, he wouldn't even crack the top 5 or 6 from last year. I'm like, I'll take him over Bo Nix or Penix coming out of school, and probably McCarthy too. I mean, there's a lot of talent there.
The number 2 guy he has on here is Shedeur Sanders, and the traits comparison is Teddy Bridgewater.
I get that a lot. I think that's probably the low end for Sanders, but I mean, Teddy's not terrible. I mean, he's a smaller, okay, not great athlete, throws the ball well, but not a power thrower. I mean, had a good career. He had an injury, but that's not what I'm looking for at 21,
Here's what an AFC coordinator had to say. He's the most interesting guy in the draft. The physical tools are good, not great. The arm talent, athleticism, size are all core things a scout would look at. They're okay.
Yeah.
You see him, he's accurate. He elevates his team. He's played good football under extreme spotlight. I think he'll go fairly high, but if you're drafting him, you want to know every detail.
Yeah. Again, I just don't see a super high ceiling. I don't see a superpower. And some will point to accuracy. And I do think he's probably the most accurate quarterback, catchable ball, touch in this draft. But his completion percentage is a little bit of a misnomer.
Pumped up. There were a lot of screens and things of that nature.
Yeah, they don't protect well, and the ball came out a lot. And having a great receiver helped too.
So Mike Tomlin was asked about Shedeur Sanders today.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, I've had a long time. I've known Dion for a long time.
So they have to know each other well.
Yeah, he says that, the thing you look at with him, he's accurate, he's tough, and he said that the thing that you really don't see that shows up is his competitiveness.
Mm-hmm. I believe all that.
Yeah. So here's what an NFC quarterback's coach said. He's accurate, tough, competitive in the pocket. A lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
He's got sneaky escapability for not being a super athlete. He has a pretty good feel in the pocket. It's hard to say on some things. They were so bad up front. But there were times where he didn't help. You wonder if he'd played at Ohio State. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what we don't know.
You don't know, right? And that's what scouting is all about. And one thing I don't give Sanders enough credit for is I often say he doesn't have a high enough ceiling for me, for this team, with the quarterbacks they have to play against for the next 5-10 years. But I think his floor is very high, too. I mean, accurate, competitive, tough. It's a good starting spot for he's going to last. He's going to be a success.
My problem is those are some of the same things that we said about Kenny Pickett.
I know. And again, and if he's good, he's Kirk Cousins. Or if he's good, he's
I don't think Pickett's accuracy was as good as Shedeur Sanders.
No, definitely not.
But he was tough and he was competitive.
He's every bit the athlete Sanders was, though.
Maybe
if
more
not
so.
better.
Yeah,
right. And they knew a ton about him, and the leadership was all check, check, check. Yeah, but sometimes you got to do what Josh Allen does,
right? Yeah,
and throw the ball through, a keyhole from 80 yards away or whatever.
Another scout said this guy, if his
there's a lot of quarterbacks that are competitive and tough,
right? Oh yeah, otherwise they wouldn't be playing.
Yeah, they're in the MAC, and they're in the Mountain West.
An NFC quarterbacks coach said this guy, if his last name was Breer, because Albert Breer did this, and he was coming out of Minnesota, he'd be a 6th round pick. He doesn't play with good feet. He's late on stuff. He has an average arm. His accuracy is okay, but he has no timing, no anticipation. He flashes on some throws, but he's an average player, not a great athlete. Even if you watch his pro day, there's no timing or rhythm. He takes extra hitches.
I think the late on stuff thing never gets talked about enough because the people who love him are like, well, he's a lot like Joe Burrow. I'm like, no, he's not that way. I mean, Joe Burrow's reading 3 moves ahead of the chessboard. This guy comes open, ball comes out, which is very common, but in the league with an average arm, you're not going to get away with that as much.
Moving on to Jackson Dart.
Okay.
The traits comp is Baker Mayfield with less of an arm.
Agreed. He doesn't have a bad arm, but Baker's got a bigger arm.
Baker's got a better arm.
Mm-hmm.
And
good traits, but not a super runner or super size.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where he's an A- or better. I mean, there's a lot of B qualities.
An AFC coordinator said, I wrote down Baker Mayfield watching him. He plays smart, instinctive. The more I watched, the more I found myself liking him more and more. I don't think he had a great idea of what to expect, but I kept liking what I was seeing, writing down positives. I think the guy can freaking play. Okay. Another NFC quarterbacks coach said he's not Penix in terms of arm talent, but good touch anticipation. I see Baker in the instincts, the intermediate game. I like Jackson. He's probably my top guy behind Ward.
Okay. None of that stuff's outlandish. I mean, intermediate game is what he does best. He's not particularly good deep. The thing that's not mentioned, I mean, Mayfield was in much more of a pro style. He was first overall pick coming out, and it was more advanced X's and O's wise. I mean, that Mississippi offense is a Looney Tunes offense.
Yeah.
I mean,
another NFC coordinator said, I was struggling with Dart big time. I think he's probably a backup. I had a hard time seeing him as a guy that you can build around. His arm is okay. He has just enough athleticism. But that offense, Lane does a good job getting the quarterback clean looks, but anytime he has to progress and feel the pocket close and make tough throws out of a tight pocket, I didn't see it. I don't see the physical ability.
Yeah. Again, so many people I really trust as quarterback evaluators say, you watch the tape and you go, Lane Kiffin's really good at his job.
Yeah.
Which he is. But when it doesn't go paint by numbers for him, it's not as great.
Moving on to Tyler Shuck. The traits comparison is Drew Lock.
Okay. That's not necessarily a negative.
I think he's a better thrower of the football than Locke.
Yeah. Locke has some, I mean, he was an early second-round pick, and
Yeah.
he's not a throwaway physically.
And teams keep wanting him. An AFC coordinator said, give him credit. He's overcome a lot. What you like and what people saw this year at Louisville is there's more under center stuff, a lot of play action, and he's already been in a lot of different systems, so he's further along in terms of football IQ. Those things excite you with him and Will Howard and Kyle McCord. They're the most pro-ready of the systems that they've played in. He's got the size, the athleticism. He's not 22. But all those guys last year were older too. It's funny. Aaron Rodgers is 41. I get it. He's 26. But you'd love to have him for 15 years. Realistically, you're just trying to get a guy through his first contract.
It's funny he lumps him and Rodgers together. Like, they might be in the same quarterback room, but they're both old for their experience. I mean, they're both up in age, obviously. I thought it was interesting, too, that he mentioned Howard and McCord. I mean, we always, compared to Shuck, they're young whippersnappers. Shuck's in a weird situation.
Yeah.
But those guys have been around the block, too, at different systems, and they are probably more pro-ready because of it.
An AFC offensive coordinator said, physically, you watch the tape and he's impressive. He's a good athlete, can make all the throws. But the question marks are why did it take so long? Why didn't he beat out Anthony Brown at Oregon? There's a lot of good stuff standing in the pocket making throws, but there are also some moments when you're asking, is he bailing out? That's the one thing I saw about him.
I would say he leads the league in throwaways, and he doesn't love getting
throws off of his back foot. His personality's okay. He's a fast riser. I know a lot of coaches like him, but I'd be nervous in a bad quarterback class with a guy that seems to come out of nowhere.
Fair.
Yeah. Moving on then to Jalen Milroe. The comp on Jalen Milroe here, the traits comp, Taysom Hill.
Okay, I think he's a way better thrower than Hill.
Here's what he said. The guy says, you turn on the Georgia tape and he's as good as anyone, said an AFC offensive coordinator. Then as the season went on, I'm not sure if he lost his confidence, but it felt like something happened. He's the one dynamic runner in the class. Riley Leonard can run, but with Jalen, you can build a true quarterback run game. That should set him up for early success. He's got a big arm, too, and changed coordinators 3 times so he can reason some of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of change in Bama this year, but they're definitely right that the end of the season wasn't as good as the first two-thirds of the season or so.
Another AFC coordinator said, for me, there's no reason Milroe can't be Jalen Hurts. In a bad quarterback class, big picture, he's the only guy who has true elite ability. I know how bad he looked at times throwing it, but he might be the best quarterback runner I've ever evaluated.
It's off the charts.
He's a better runner than Lamar Jackson was in college.
In college, yes. Not close to the passer Lamar was in college.
Right.
But yes, he was a better runner.
Another guy said, an AFC quarterbacks coach, Milroe is like a running back playing quarterback. He's robotic as a quarterback. He does some amazing things with his legs. He's a great kid, so he has a chance to get better on his will alone, but he's more robotic than Hurts was coming out. Anthony Richardson would be a closer comp to me as a passer.
Okay. I mean, I get that. I mean, that's the level you're talking about, right? Yeah.
You want to do Quinn Ewers?
Sure.
I'm not going to get as in-depth on this one, but the comp is Spencer Rattler.
Sounds about right,
That's
too.
not super impressive.
I mean, it's a backup.
Yeah. But an NFC coordinator said that he's probably the third best pure passer in the draft. There's just something missing, maybe tentativeness with his arm. He just doesn't cut it loose enough, but he has passing ability. The lack of athleticism has hurt him. You wonder if he maxed out in high school.
Yeah, that adds up, too. Below average size, below average athleticism. Good, not great passer.
Yeah. Will Howard, the comp was Josh McCown.
Yeah, that's a future coach. And long time backup that plays in the league till you're 40 and then go on to be a coach.
Yeah. An AFC coordinator said, I really like Howard. The knock is the arm strength. The other stuff is pretty good. He's going to have no problem coming in and running your offense with the stuff they asked him to do at Ohio State.
Yeah, right. That's great. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for. Great. I just think the Steelers already have that guy.
Kyle McCord,
better
the
version.
comp is Case Keenum.
I think he throws it better than Keenum.
An NFC quarterbacks coach said he's very similar to Will Howard in a lot of ways. When you watch him, he doesn't look overly athletic, doesn't move all that well, and he rips off a run. And you're like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
He was very impressive at Syracuse with the leadership, the it factor. There's some stuff to him. He's great in short passes. The ball comes out fast, and that's where it is a little more average. Or it's a little more average with his arm strength and accuracy and consistency. That's lost with the more difficult throws.
Okay. When they say there's little stuff to him, I'm like, yeah, that's the Keenum part. Like scrappy, will do whatever it takes. Teammates love him. Back up, get you out of a game, spark a team. Okay.
Riley Leonard, the comp is a less jacked up Tim Tebow.
Not great.
Yeah. Here's what an NFC coordinator said. He's interesting because everywhere he went, he won. Duke and then Notre Dame last year, he's got a chance.
I think he'll stick. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a really good athlete, too. He might be the second best runner in this class.
I think he is, yeah. So that's some of the top quarterbacks in this draft class. That's what some coordinators anonymously told Albert Breer of SI.com. So
it's good information. There's a lot of good stuff in there on all those guys.
Absolutely. Let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And you mentioned Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin holding their pre-draft press conference today. And you can't expect these guys.
I was going to ask you just from a reporter level, why do they even do it? Does every team do this?
Yes.
And I assume the league wants you to do something pre-draft that helps
pump up
build
the draft
up.
a little
Exactly,
bit.
yeah. But what do they actually expect them to say? Like, I'd hate to be in their shoes because you have to talk, and you could say things like, this is a really good running back class. This is a good defensive line class. There's a lot of edge guys in this class we like. But you can't really get specific with Steeler stuff. I mean, that's like
that would be silly.
Here's
to
the
do
cards in my hand. You're not going to show everybody.
Yeah, so I was sitting in the room today. I was the first one in there as usual, and some of the guys start walking in and, we're here, and they're not going to say anything. I'm like, what do you expect?
What do you expect? Right. You're going to say, well, we're trading down with this team.
Yeah,
and
we're going to move up and get Cam Ward.
we think Shedeur Sanders is the next John Elway. You
Yeah.
know, like, I don't think they're going to tell you that,
No, nobody's going to say anything like that. But then you see guys like Jerry Jones come out today, and he said,
I bet if you examine 32 press conferences or
a little
64 of
different,
them, there's some slippage. You're right.
Jerry Jones came out and said today that we're looking at two things that could happen before or after the draft, two pretty substantial trades that we've been working on today.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, why would he say that? Well, first of all, he owns a team and no one's going to tell him not to.
He can say whatever he wants.
And he's 80 or 90 years old, and who the heck cares? Like, who's he even impressed anymore? So it's a different world than Tomlin or Khan or 99% of the people at podiums today. Yeah. I could see them trying to trade back. I mean, I would think one of the receivers will be there if you go backwards. One of the running backs would be there if you go backwards.
You wouldn't be working on that now, though, I wouldn't think.
You wouldn't that wouldn't happen now.
These sound like player trades.
Like, you're not going to trade Dak Prescott or Micah Parsons today.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean,
I don't know.
Unless they think about adding somebody.
Yeah, it must be talking. They have to be talking players.
I would imagine.
Are they going to trade?
I mean, because Jerry's definitely not on the phone with the Steelers about trading down to 21.
Not at this point.
No,
like
that's not his job.
They've been on the phone.
Well, he is.
But not him.
He's not.
Yeah,
right. He's on his yachts or doing whatever he wants to do. He's not doing that.
Doing Jerry Jones stuff. I just thought it was interesting. I'm like,
one or two.
Said two pretty substantive trades. Two.
who's on the block for them? I would think maybe they acquire somebody. They haven't done anything in free agency for 2 years in a row. I'm sure, are they after Trey Hendrickson or I don't know. I mean, is there somebody they could Tyreek Hill? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Maybe they want to add a player.
Yeah, just thought that was, this was during their pre-draft press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like
nobody probably asked them.
No,
were you working on 2 big trades, Jerry? Yeah, come to think of it, we are.
Hey, Jerry, what's up? Oh, we got 2 big trades coming. Like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure he brought it up.
Yeah, look, that's the way it looks, and yeah, they're gonna, if they're going to happen before the draft, they're probably players on other teams.
I would think, because I don't think they're trading any of their stars.
I wouldn't think.
Right. Maybe they're adding.
Yeah,
they haven't done much of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. But I am always curious. What do you expect these coaches and GMs to say this week leading up to the draft? I mean, they'll tell you some things. We're happy with George Pickens. We like the running back class. There's talks with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I mean that's good information, but it's not house secrets.
Yeah, this is house secret stuff.
Yeah, that's house secret
now
stuff.
Now when you say this to reporters, now they start digging.
I'm sure on Twitter
what are they
right
working
now,
on? Yeah.
Oh, CeeDee Lamb's moving. Micah Parsons moving. I mean, everyone's going to make up stuff.
Everybody starts looking at who's getting moved to the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it goes.
It is. And maybe there is something. I mean, maybe while we're on the air.
Some of that's the showmanship of Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He wants the Cowboys to always be in the spotlight.
In the news. And right. They're trending right now or whatever. So
interesting.
Enough. Yeah, it is.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 of the drive right after this. And welcome back to hour number 2 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And Matt, our penultimate drive mock draft.
I urge someone to go back and say, how many did we do? And tally them all up. You guys took Kenneth Grant 28% of the time. You got, I don't do that, people.
Don't do that. Right. That would waste way too much of your time.
But we've done a lot of them.
We've done a lot. We've given you a lot of different options. We've gone through a lot of different scenarios. We've picked at 21. We've moved back. We've moved out of the first round. We've traded future picks to move back up into the second round.
We've never traded up in the first round.
We have not.
Which I'm glad we didn't waste any time doing that because that's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
We're not trading with the Cowboys at 12.
That's not the trade that's brewing, I don't think.
No, I don't believe so. Anyways, so we're using the Pro Football Focus mock drafter today because it's easier. And we're up at 21.
Okay.
And we do have some trade offers, one of which is the one that we've kind of talked about here today a little bit more, or one that I think they should consider. The Houston Texans are on the
They definitely seem like a candidate that could come up for O-line help or even a receiver. Like if Golden or McMillan went and they only like those two. And the beauty of it is they traded Tunsil. They've got a lot of mid-round liquid-type picks, and they have some extra ones next year too. So they don't mind throwing stuff in.
Yeah, so if you look at it from their standpoint, the guys who are still available are Matthew Golden, Gray Zabel, Josh Connerly.
Okay.
Because the picks that went right ahead of us were Josh Simmons, an offensive tackle.
So I would start to panic if I were them.
And Emeka Egbuka, a wide receiver.
Exactly.
Perfect scenario. That's a perfect storm. Can they wait 4 more picks and have more of these guys taken off the board? And
especially if they only want the tackle.
Right.
Like Zabel would be great for them, but I think they like their center,
Yeah. So I'm going to explore this with the Houston Texans. We're only moving back 4 spots.
I'll say they're 25, right?
They're 25. Now, they have 25, 58, 79, and 89.
58's going to be hard to pry away.
We're not going to get 58 from them.
We'd have to throw in our third.
But if you're going to give me one of those 2 threes,
it's probably enough.
To move back 4 spots, I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
I just want more on day 2.
Yes. So my recommendation, I don't know if it'll fly, is I would ask for one of the 3s and a little sugar. Like turn our 7th into a 5th or give me a future 5th. And they might say no, but, just push it a little.
You like to push the boundary.
I do. Well, the worst thing to say is no. And deep down you already have a deal in place. You're going to get one of the 3s.
So here's what I've offered. 21 and 185. for 25, 79, and 166.
Cool. Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mid-round move up 15 spots that you might be thrilled about.
So this is saying right now there's a 50% chance that will be accepted.
Flip that coin.
Boom.
Boom.
Done.
Okay. We got a little sugar on top. Great.
We now have 7 picks in the draft.
Yes.
We moved up in the 6th round, which actually that 166 might be a 5th round.
Honestly, I think that's 5. But okay.
But we got our day 2 pick, and we moved back 4 spots in the 1st round.
Great. Mission
Perfect.
accomplished. Right.
And they came up to get Kenneth Grant, which isn't ideal.
That's not what we wanted, but okay.
But the next pick was Omari and Hampton. I don't love that. Then Malachi Starks and Nick Emiwari go back to back.
Okay. So 2 of the 4 would have been of interest.
Yeah. It does narrow things down a bit for us. Here are the players available. Walter Nolan.
Great.
Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
That's kind of it with the players that I would be interested in taking there.
Well, considering Sanders, Nolan, Grant, and Hampton were all available at 21, this is why you move 4 spots, not 8.
So then the question becomes, do you take Walter Nolan or do you take Shedeur Sanders at 25?
For me, that's an easy decision. It's Nolan. I mean, an easy decision. I understand both sides, but I'm not paid to just say, oh, either's fine. I have an opinion. I would take Nolan.
Yeah.
We could do either.
My question to myself would then be, I would have to ask myself, do I think with picks 79 and 83, I can get defensive linemen who are as good as Walter Nolan?
No.
And my answer is no.
The answer is no.
Like, I think he's
I'll
here.
get guys I like.
Yeah.
But not to that. It's not Cam Hayward's replacement.
Yeah. And then I would have to ask myself the same question about the quarterbacks. Do I think that there's a guy who would be available there that I would be willing to say, okay, he might be the future starter?
Milroe and Shuck are the 2. But what's different about asking those 2 questions, in my opinion, is I can leave this draft without a top-notch quarterback.
Right.
I can't leave this draft without a top-notch defensive lineman.
Yeah. I hear you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One need is different than the other. Not greater, but different. Because quarterback's its own beast.
Yeah.
If I like Sanders better, I'd say it's an easy answer. I'd take Sanders.
Right.
And that's the thing. Is
Yeah.
If he was a 15% better prospect, I'd be like, well, you take the quarterback. You always take the quarterback.
The only other question I would have then, what about Travion Henderson? Would I consider Travion Henderson at 25?
I don't want to speak for you. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I have a hard time using the first pick on Henderson or Hampton. I get it. They would play a lot. They might go to Pro Bowls like crazy. They're both really good fits. But, man, the guys that are going to be there in the 3rd and 4th round are good. I mean, it's just such a deep class for that. And it's just not a premium position. I like the players. It's nothing they did wrong. And I'm not a running backs don't matter kind of guy. And I bet they have a lot of interest in both those dudes, as they should. But, man, I think Nolan changes things.
Okay, Walter Nolan it is. I'm going to pause again here.
Okay.
We're at pick 45. I just want to see if any of those running backs have gone. They have not. Oh, wait, Travion Henderson went at 37. Henderson went at 37. So now we're at pick 44. Let it run some
more.
more.
Hampton's still there?
No, Hampton's gone. He went before our pick.
Oh, Hampton went ahead of.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
we're now 25 picks out from our draft pick. And it looks
I don't know who I'd give you extra for at this point.
Yeah, none of the other guys have gone yet. But Darius Alexander just did.
Yeah. We liked them, but they got a similar player.
Yeah, we're at pick 54. We got down to 79. Now we're within 15 picks. So we're at the end of the 2nd round. Cam Scatterbo and Quinshon Judkins were both selected.
Okay.
Do we make a move up to go get Johnson?
I like Johnson more than Scatterbo. I wouldn't give a lot more, though.
Would he be a guy that you would trade, say, 79 and a future fourth to go get?
That is what I was on top of my mind. It was like, you have so many future picks. If you think this guy's your lead back and is a 1,000-yard rusher year after year and a scheme fit, I think that's worth it to move up at that portion of the draft.
Yeah.
It's such a
for a future four that you're going to have 2 fours
that's
next
what I mean.
year.
It doesn't hurt you much.
Yeah. So that's has a 46% chance of being accepted.
And he is on the board.
Yes.
I would be fine with that.
I
don't love trading up to 40.
The Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles did not accept that. I'm going to go down to.
All right, you're going to let it go.
I'm going to go to 65.
Picks? Okay.
We'll see if the Giants will accept the same deal. They did not. How about the Chiefs? 66 for 75 in next year's fourth. That was accepted.
Okay.
So now we just have to hope that the Eagles and the Giants don't take Cam Johnson.
Oh, okay. So we didn't run it to that point.
You can't.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been too
I see
quick.
what you're saying. I got you.
All right, I'm going to resume. They did not. But the Giants did take Jalen Milroe at 65.
Okay, which would make sense.
Okay. So
But we grabbed Johnson, yeah.
Yeah. Caleb Johnson is the pick at 66 now.
Great.
I don't know if we would have gotten him or not at 79.
Right. But because we traded down and all it really cost us was a future fourth and we had picked up stuff anyways in the first deal, basically would you trade, even right now, would you trade 21 and 83 for Nolan and Johnson?
I think I would.
I think I would.
Yeah.
And we did that and got a little more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And made a little something on the side.
All right. We are now up at pick 83.
Yeah. Okay.
Top players available. Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina. C.J. West, the nose tackle out of Indiana. Xavier Restrepo, the wide receiver from Miami. Damian Martinez, running back from Miami. Chris Paul, linebacker from Mississippi. Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon. Elijah Roberts, edge rusher out of SMU. Jared Wilson, center out of Georgia. Latham Ransom, safety out of Ohio State. Vernon Broughton, defensive lineman out of Texas. Wyatt Millam, the offensive lineman out of West Virginia. Jordan Phillips is there. If you want to get a nose. Nose.
West has been my favorite so far, but I was curious what other noses are there.
Charles Grant is there, the offensive lineman out of William & Mary.
I have some interest in Millam and Grant.
Anthony Belton, the offensive lineman out of NC State. Savion Williams, the wide receiver out of TCU, is there. Jamari Caldwell is there.
About to ask, would you take Caldwell over West or Phillips?
That's an interesting discussion, and
they're a little different.
I've been asked about that. How would we stack those mid-round
noses? I've never had to do it.
Yeah, it's what do you? So Phillips doesn't give you any pass rush at all.
No, he's a wrestler, power, middle of the field, maybe develop. I mean, I'm not sure it's not in his body or his future, but
he
he's
just
never
hasn't done it. He had no sacks whatsoever at Maryland.
Right.
None.
I mean, he's never going to be a high sack.
Yeah, he's more the Casey Hampton type that I'm just going to eat up block after block, and my inside linebackers are going to love me.
Yeah, him and Frazier are going to wrestle like crazy at camp. Beat the crap out of each other.
Right. Caldwell, to me, gives you a little bit more pass rush.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I think he gets off the ball better.
He's more like Javon Hargrave in terms of he's got that quick first step, and
right.
He's looks kind of jiggly, but he can move.
Yeah, the jiggle part doesn't matter, but he is jiggly.
Yeah.
But he's active.
Yeah. And West is kind of in between those guys.
Yes, I would say he's in between. He's probably not as good a run stuffer. He's not as good a pass rusher. It's not like Caldwell's a zero against the run either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still job number one for all of them.
Yeah.
I think Phillips is last.
I think so too, just because I don't know that guy, that type of player,
I'm not sure it's worth a third-round pick.
Plays more than like 35% of the snaps, because he's never going to play on nickel and dime ever.
I could probably take Yaya Black in the 5th or 6th.
Right, I could do that instead. And do the same thing.
There's a 33-year-old on the street right now. I could get to do that.
Yeah.
Although I think Phillips could turn. I'd love him to be a Steeler.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be much more comfortable with him in the 4th.
Yeah.
Well, there is 3 on the board, dude.
There are 3.
We could wait and just.
Well, we don't pick again until 123.
Okay.
So that's 40 picks away. I don't know that we're going to get one of those guys.
Do you prefer Caldwell or West?
I think what the Steelers are looking for is more Caldwell than West.
I think there's a day where he might be on the field in nickel. It's not the best thing. You'd rather have Hayward and Benton.
But maybe you have an injury in game, and he's going to go out there and play.
And he's not going to embarrass himself.
This team's getting you in your nickel, and they're running.
Yeah. That was a problem last year.
Yeah.
Right. I'm fine with him. We draft him a lot, but...
We do.
Because we like him.
We like him, and, they brought him in for a visit.
Yeah.
They like him, too. They didn't bring in Phillips or West.
No.
Although they should know all about West because he was a Mac guy. Yeah. But okay.
They have some Maryland connections, too.
Jamari Caldwell. We didn't take Harmon this time, so he can't room with...
No.
Okay, we're up at 123.
We got a back and 2 D linemen.
Is that all we got? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. All right. So we're up here. The Jonas Sanker, the safety out of Virginia. Billy Bowman, safety out of Oklahoma. Benjamin Yorshek, tight end out of Georgia.
I'm a fan. I just don't know if you go tight end this early.
Will Howard, the quarterback out of Ohio State. Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker from Oregon. Mello Dotson, cornerback from Kansas. Riley Leonard, quarterback from Notre Dame. Miles Frazier, the guard from LSU.
I'm a fan.
Ahmad Hassan, edge out of Boise State. Cameron Jackson, the nose tackle out of Florida.
If we would have waited, that's what we would have probably ended up with.
That's where we would have ended up at,
yeah.
Jarquez Hunter, the running back out of Auburn. Jalen Reed, safety out of Penn State. Josh Farmer.
That'd have been nice to know.
Yeah, defensive lineman out of Florida State. He's not a nose, though.
He plays a lot of 3 technique, too. Yeah.
Justin Wally, cornerback out of Minnesota. Jaden Blue, running back out of Texas. Tez Johnson, wide receiver out of Oregon. Brashard Smith, the running back out of SMU. Dylan Fairchild, guard out of Georgia. I think this sets up to take one of those guards.
I would say Frazier, Fairchild, and Wally were the ones that piqued my interest. And I think I'd rather go O-line than
we're talking about a future starter here as opposed to a guy that's going to be a depth piece at cornerback. So you have Frazier, Fairchild. They kind of stand alone.
I think they're both nice picks here.
Yeah.
And probably a starter a year from now.
Yeah. In the 4th round, that's
great. That's what you're looking for, right? Yeah. And I thought McCormick wasn't going to play last year, and he sure did.
Yeah. Right. And you're happy you had him.
Exactly. Either is cool with me. I really think they're very equal.
One thing I want to look at is they have them here, the ages. So Frazier is 23.6.
I think Fairchild's young. He's a rawer player, but maybe that's because he's at Georgia and didn't get the start because good guys are in front of him.
Hasn't turned 22 yet.
Okay, that adds up.
That's kind of a tiebreaker for me.
I think he's a little more physically gifted, too. Frazier's gifted, but he has small hands, and he's not as prototypical. Fairchild just doesn't have a ton of tape.
Yeah.
Fairchild.
You take I think if it's close, you take the younger player.
Yeah. Especially if you don't plan on playing this year.
Especially on the lines.
Yeah.
Because they're a guy
they physically develop a lot more.
Yeah. Frazier at almost 24 is just about what he's going to be, in terms of strength and things of that nature. Whereas Fairchild, there's room to grow.
Not that I would know the numbers. I'm just throwing this out there to prove a point. He might be a 400 bench guy now, and this time next year he's 425.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all across the board, he's just a little bit more physically developed.
Yeah. So Dylan Fairchild.
I like that.
Yeah. That's a nice value pick.
A nice value pick, right.
All right. We got another one coming up at 156, and Riley Leonard still there.
Interesting.
Seth McLaughlin, the center out of Ohio State. Jordan Hancock, the safety out of Ohio State.
I think he's more than a safety, though.
Yeah, I think so, too. Robert Longerbeam, the cornerback out of Rutgers.
I don't dislike him either.
He's got some ability.
He's got some things that would be useful.
Pat Bryant, the wide receiver from Illinois. Zy Alexander, the cornerback from LSU.
Okay.
Ty Hamilton, defensive lineman from Ohio State.
We've gone there twice. Though.
Chase Lunt, offensive tackle out of Connecticut.
He's a lot different than the guy we just drafted.
Dylan Gabriel, quarterback out of Oregon. Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas.
None of these quarterbacks are super exciting to me.
I
see the logic in drafting one, but part of me is just like, if the best they're going to turn into is Rudolph, I have Rudolph.
True enough. Quincy Riley is still there.
Corners and receivers seemed interesting, especially the corner group.
Kyle McCord is still there, though.
Okay. Again, I understand it. I'd love to have a rookie in camp. But one that can turn into Rudolph that's on a 2-year deal isn't as appealing to me as a corner that might be a starter in 2 years. You know?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I know we just went O-line, but Lunt to me is a really good scheme fit and a pure tackle that's 6'8", they don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Mover. He needs to get stronger too.
Hancock to me is interesting too because
yes,
he was their nickel.
And I think he's kind of like their defensive leader, does it all. He plays a lot of slot. I don't know what his snap count is, but I'm pretty sure he plays a lot.
Over 400 snaps in the slot the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he's a 0 as an outside corner either. I mean, I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I think he tested great from what I remember.
He's got size. He's 6'1", 195 pounds.
Yeah.
He's different from the slots that you have.
Very. And I'm not sure he's just a slot. I know I think he's miscast.
I think that's what he would be initially.
Initially, right.
Like he would be your big slot.
Like Beanie wouldn't be happy we drafted him.
No,
he
but
would be in trouble.
Beanie's not stopping me from drafting a guy like that.
Exactly. I got and he'd be a demon on special teams.
I think that's huge too.
Do it.
Jordan
It's a
Hancock.
guy I don't know we've ever drafted.
I don't think we've drafted him at all. And
I'm always, every time you mention him when it's this time of draft, like, ooh, I like him. The problem is they call him a safety, but I think he's a corner that can play safety.
Yeah, I think that's he got because the majority of his snaps the last 2 years have come in the nickel spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like he played 200 snaps last year at deep safety for them.
He's capable.
He
I think
played
he's more
400.
I think he's more like Sutton.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's smart and capable.
They like
of a lot
those
of
kind
things.
of guys.
Yeah,
William Gay, Sutton. You can go on down the list of guys that they've had.
Right.
All right, we are now up at 166. We got 2 picks left.
Okay.
166 and 229.
Now, quarterback here doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah. Well, Dylan Gabriel's there. Quinn Ewers is there. Kyle McCord. Curtis Rourke.
All would be fine with me. Their receiver of interest?
Probably.
Usually not.
Yeah. You're looking at Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas, Samuel Brown from Miami, Elijah Badger from Florida.
Kind of growing fond of Badger, but I'm not going to jump up and down for him.
Yeah, it's just because you're a
cool dude.
No, you like Badger because of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyways, I think you just take a quarterback here.
That's fine.
You're going to take one to camp and see what's available later. Let's take McCord again.
Yeah, I like McCord a lot. I wish Rourke was healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of stinks.
That's a roadblock.
All right, 229. We are up. We can take anything we want.
Yeah, this could be blocking tight end. I mean, it could be whatever you want.
Top players available. Maxon Hook, the safety out of Toledo.
I don't think we could take a safety.
We took one of those already. Right. Curtis Rourke, the quarterback from Indiana. Caleb Ransaw, safety out of Tulane.
He's another one I like, yeah, in that same mold.
Drew Kendall, the center out of Boston College.
Center only is going to be tough for me.
Rayon Lane, the safety out of Navy. Mm-hmm. Max Brosmer, the quarterback from Minnesota. Dean Clark, safety out of Fresno. I'm seeing a trend
safeties,
here.
Yeah.
Jalen Conyers, tight end out of Texas Tech.
I've heard good things, but I don't know much about him.
Junior Tafana, defensive lineman out of Utah. Taj Brooks, running back out of Texas Tech.
Not so bad.
Jimmy Horn, wide receiver from Colorado. Raheem Sanders, running back from South Carolina. Jalen Smith, the cornerback out of USC. John Quavius Marks, the running back from USC. LaQuint Allen is there. Cam Horsley, defensive lineman from Boston College. Ricky White, wide receiver out of UNLV. He would play on special teams.
Yeah, I would say, is there any wideout that can run or has traits or, in this case, can play teams? Probably is a practice squad guy.
He would do that, yeah.
Any other receivers?
Let me take a look here. At the receiver position, you're looking at Jimmy Horn, Theo Weiss, Ephraim Chisholm out of Eastern Washington. I've heard some good things about him.
I haven't studied him, but yeah.
Ricky White, UNLV. Kobe Hudson out of UCF. LeJonte Wester out of Colorado. Bo Collins from Notre Dame. Trayshawn Holden from Oregon.
Either White or Chisholm would be okay. How about a blocking tight end?
Chisholm had 120 catches last year.
Did he really?
I understand. It's
Yeah. Good place to start, though.
He's not real big, though. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. Ricky White.
I think he ran really poorly.
6'1", 190. But he's a special teams type guy.
Mm-hmm.
Block kicks and things of that nature.
Is our boy Haas or Lachey there?
Didn't look much at the tight end position. You're looking at Conyers, C.J. Dipray from Alabama, Luke Lachey from
Lachey.
Lachey, I should say.
Yeah, big blocking. Dad was a first-round pick, stud tackle. Played hurt last year. That's why he does.
Tough to go wrong with a
Iowa
tight end.
I'm in.
All right, Iowa. There we go. Lachey. And our draft is completed. All we gave up was a fourth-round pick from last year, or for next year.
Right.
So we still have 10 picks next year.
Right. We didn't add any from next year, but we lost a fourth.
We moved down and took Walter Nolan at pick 25.
Cool.
We then took Caleb Johnson, moving back into this. We only moved up like
Scooched
10
up
picks.
A bit, yeah.
They get Caleb Johnson at 66. Jamari Caldwell at 83. Dylan Fairchild, the guard out of Georgia, at 123. Jordan Hancock, the safety/corner out of Ohio State, at 156. Kyle McCord, quarterback from Syracuse, at 166. And Luke Lachey at 229, the tight end out of Iowa.
A lot of big physical guys. Lineman. I think it's a future guard in there, a future starting guard.
Yeah.
Again, take one extra. I like it. Again, but I don't mind losing a fourth rounder next year.
No, because what we really did was we traded the fourth round pick for the third round pick.
More or less, yeah.
More or less, because we only moved back 4 spots.
Especially if we would have taken Nolan at 21 anyway.
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what we did.
So in reality, we moved up with that fourth round pick
to assure that we got Johnson as the top back.
And I really think there are other backs in this draft that I like.
Yeah.
But there's 4 or 5 that I like. You get one of those guys, he's going to be your bell cow.
I think after Johnson, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Like some of them will hit. Maybe Tootin or Martinez or one of those guys.
Yeah, they may be great.
Yeah, you're right.
I hope they are.
Yeah.
But I think Caleb Johnson, I know, is going to hit.
The 2 Ohio State fan guys, Johnson, Hampton, and Genty, I think are probably like go ahead of Warren. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're dudes.
Yeah.
And there's a little difference if you don't get one of them.
I just think he really fits the scheme too.
That's the thing. The thing. Yeah. I mean, if it was 2 years ago scheme, I don't know if he'd be as high. I'd probably take Judkins out.
No, I kind of like that draft.
I do too. Again, I don't mind losing the mid-round future pick.
Would you trade it right now? We're sitting here on Saturday, and this is the
I think
the haul.
so. I like that they had a lot of big guys. I think I probably would.
Filled all the needs.
Yeah. You upgraded at running back. I'm still pretty infatuated with what Nolan could be.
2 really good young bodies on the defensive line.
Right.
We're going to play a lot.
That are really different. A little guard to be named later, but we said the same thing about McCormick, and we're pretty happy that you had him. And it doesn't sound like much, but the safety corner slot, I bet he plays in the league a long time and is just a useful defensive back.
Yeah. And the reality is that outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, your other safeties are all free agents after next year.
I hadn't thought about that.
So
he might be a starter next year.
He could be one of your starting safeties next year.
Yeah, or at least in the mix.
In the mix. He maybe is your third safety.
He's your third.
You only have to go get one.
He's your dime back or whatever,
yeah.
too. Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyways, let's get to a break. When we come back, we're going to answer your questions. We sent out the bat signal earlier today.
It always responds.
We'll dig into some listener questions. When we come back right after this, he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app, or you can watch along on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on there. Leave us your comments. Did you love our draft? Did you hate our draft?
Yeah. You only got one more of them coming.
Only got one more coming. So, of course, you can listen to all of our draft coverage right here as well. No YouTube for the draft coverage.
Oh, right.
Will just be available on the Steelers mobile app, and of course, you can listen along on
all sorts of outlets.
All sorts of different outlets where you get the show. Preferably download the Steelers mobile app and get it that way. Mm-hmm. Sent out the thing for questions earlier today on the X Twitter, and Brad Prentice asked, do you have any good stories of a successful draft week fake where a team completely fooled the media and other teams about their intent? I can't think of any.
Blake Bortles. I mean, it didn't work out. He wasn't great, but no one, Kuiper, McShay, Schefter, they hid that one completely. It was like the 4th pick in the draft. That's kind of like a well-known one that no one saw coming.
I guess they did that with Tyson Alualu as well. Remember, they took Tyson Alualu 10th.
Really early. And
nobody had Tyson Alualu in the first round.
I do know some front offices are really good at hiding secrets, and some of them are known for putting out smoke screens, and there's some people that study that stuff,
He also asked, does Tomlin's comment about nose tackles going the way of the fullback disqualify Kenneth Grant, or can Grant be more than a traditional nose? Love the shows, by the way. Yeah, Mike Tomlin, for those, he did say that he was asked about nose tackles, true nose tackles. Mm-hmm. He said they've kind of gone the way of the fullback.
Sure.
Some teams play with fullbacks.
That doesn't mean you don't align someone on the nose, but the old school only run stuff.
Which is what we just talked about in our mock draft. Like, I think those guys get bumped down a little bit because you got to be able to rush the passer in today's game.
Yeah, you need to do more. So, and Grant, I think, does more.
M asks, if the Steelers do draft a quarterback and not sign Rodgers, do you think the rookie quarterback would learn much from Mason? Well, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. But, yes, I do think they would learn things from Mason.
Oh, yeah, I think he'd be a great influence on Sanders, a Dart, or whoever, 100%.
Mason Rudolph's a great guy.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Not at all. Marco A. Romero Navarro says, great work on the Steelers and Raz scores prospects. What would be the case for drafting prospects without outstanding RAS scores? Can you think of any recent Steelers who were great players and not so great RAS scores?
So I did this on another outlet. I went into in-depth about Omar in his 2 years has been number one amongst all GMs in terms of RAS scores.
Yeah.
What the heck's a RAS score, Matt? Relative athletic score.
No, it's only been 2 years.
It's only been 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a really small, but he's number one in terms of taking the most. He's basically had the most athletic drafter that's a draftee right now. And it's an Eagles thing, too. I mean, and in particular, like the 6th and 7th round, the Eagles and now Steelers take shots on just super athletes. And if they hit, you might have Jordan Mailata.
So the funny thing about that is I was looking at the chart when you tweeted it out.
Yeah.
The Eagles are actually at the bottom of the league in that the last few years.
Yeah.
Because they've taken a bunch of big guys.
That doesn't matter. I mean, look, it's
I know,
all relative to
a guy like Jordan Davis who's athletic.
That's a bad one. I know what you're saying. Yeah, he's a bad rat.
He ran okay,
right.
But he didn't jump and do all that other stuff at the high end of the spectrum.
Right. So I guess the short answer, I know we got a million questions, is because the top guys are Shamar Stewart and Inuare.
Right.
But they're better testers than football players, especially Stewart. Well, that's the downside.
Yeah, right.
They're just a bunch of athletes that aren't good players. They don't. There's a lot of linebackers that are Devin White, great tester, just doesn't see it in reality. Yeah. And some positions it's more important than others. I want edge rushers that are athletes. I don't care if my safety is.
I can't think of any Steelers who were great players, despite not having great RAS scores.
Jarvis Jones was the one you hoped. He's kind of the counter argument.
He's the counter argument.
He's the counter argument.
Yeah, I mean, Najee wasn't a great.
Najee didn't quite qualify because he didn't run. But he wouldn't have been a great RAS guy.
Yeah,
you're right.
But he was, again, a solid player.
Right. He wasn't a bust, obviously.
Ed Grusser said, I think you should try running back once in the first. Well, Ed, we've done that a lot of times.
We have done that.
We've done it plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Reyes says, about a mid-round alternatives at quarterback. I like McCord and Howard a lot. Would like them in the 4th, 5th round range. Give us your personal rankings of those quarterbacks in that range and give us some insights on them. Well, we just took McCord in our mock draft. We passed on Howard earlier than that.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think you're getting Howard in the 5th round.
I don't either. And I'm not willing to use a third on any of the guys that are in this conversation.
Yeah, in the fourth, we took a guard who's probably going to be potentially a starter for us next year.
Right, which to me makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I guess McCord seems to be our consensus favorite of those 5 to 7 guys that we know are getting drafted. We never seem to end up with Leonard. We never seem to end up with Gabriel.
Gabriel doesn't interest me at all.
It doesn't interest me. I don't want a little guy.
He's a little guy.
He's a little guy. And if Rourke was clean, he would be my favorite. But there's a massive red flag, right?
If I could sign Rourke immediately after the draft,
oh yeah,
sign me up.
Oh yeah. And frankly, I might even 7th rounder, even if I drafted one, just to get him. My problem with Howard is the McCown conversation we had. Like, he just looks like a long-term backup, super smart future head coach. What's that getting?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Steel City Sports Report says, my dream draft scenario is to get 2 defensive linemen from the same school for familiarity, comfort with the new team. What do you guys think, and which duo would you like? Williams and Hamilton from Ohio State, Collins and Broughton from Texas, Nolan and Pegues from Ole Miss, Harmon Caldwell from Oregon, or another.
We've never done the Mississippi one.
We have drafted Harmon and Caldwell a lot.
Yeah. That works out well for where the Steelers pick in round 1, round 3, room them together, go be great together, run stunts together. That's probably the favorite one.
The problem with Williams and Hamilton is Williams is probably more of a early day 2 pick somewhere, and you're not going to be able to get him right now.
He always falls in between picks.
Yeah, same thing kind of with Collins and Broughton.
Yeah. The Mississippi duo is kind of interesting, though.
Yeah.
You know? No, there are some ones. You're not going to get the Michigan duo.
No.
Glad I didn't bring them up, yeah.
Weber 88 asks, at pick 21, Harmon, Nolan, Grant, Hampton, and Sanders are all gone. What's your best guess on what the Steelers will do? I don't know how they could all be gone.
That would really be a kick in the head.
There'd be somebody, if those 5 guys are all gone,
then somebody trade
somebody good is still available.
Somebody that shouldn't be.
That shouldn't be. Like a
Barron, or, maybe better. I mean, like one of the top edge rushers, or somebody you would never imagine, one of the tight ends, or.
I would also consider Travion Henderson.
I'd say, well, maybe I was thinking the 2 Ohio State guys in Tyleik Williams or Henderson.
Yeah.
It's not what you want.
It's not what you want.
Right,
I mean, you're going to probably end up trading back.
If your hand is totally forced.
Because if all 5 of those guys are gone, then some of the edge rushers have fallen and some of the offensive linemen have fallen.
Yeah.
Or one of the cornerbacks has fallen that somebody's going to want to come get. Or a wide receiver's fallen that somebody's going to want to come get.
Right. I mean, what other 15 names would be gone with those 5? You could get 15 real quick.
Yeah.
Would you take Alexander or Tyleik if you had to check, if that was your first pick and you had to take one of those 2?
I'd lean towards the age and take Tyleik, I think.
Okay. I don't know my answer.
Andrew Kwiatkowski asks, ideally, would you sign George Pickens to an extension? Would be nice to see how him and DK work together before committing more years, but may be difficult. They'll have the cap space, but would like to know what you think makes sense. You're not signing him now.
No rush at all.
There's no reason.
No rush at all. I know he's walking into a contract year, but that doesn't mean then you could franchise him. You got a lot of options. You can do
all kinds of stuff with it. I want to see if he can be on his best behavior. I want to see if he can produce and be on his best behavior before I'm giving him a long-term contract. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
I want to see the best version of him.
Yeah.
I do want to see him with Metcalf. I want to see him with a different quarterback, which is going to happen. He's
right.
going to have a different quarterback. No reason to invest in that now. There's not enough.
Not
enough to go off.
Out of the 3 defensive linemen, this is Jay Mars, 3 defensive linemen, who would Yuns want us to draft, and also who is your favorite? Could be different answers depending on the scheme.
I go back and forth every hour.
It just depends on what you're looking. I mean, to me, Hampton is the ideal fit as a defensive end.
Not Hampton.
Or not Hampton, Harmon, I should say.
Okay,
Harmon as a defensive end.
Yes.
Just because of the length.
That's one of my favorite things about him.
Nolan doesn't have that.
No. I think he might have the most upside, though.
He might have the most upside of the group, and Grant is a prototypical nose tackle who could be the anchor of your defense for the next 12 years.
And I'd like to have a personality test with Nolan, too.
And medicals and things of that nature. Of course. I don't know.
I'm real happy with all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it. But I go back and forth all the time of ranking them.
Savvy43 says, would it be good in the fourth or fifth round pick to pick up Ty Robinson from Nebraska?
Yep. I don't think he'll be in the fifth.
He's been my guy from the get-go on this thing, yeah.
Especially if Grant was your first one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nice duo.
Yeah.
You talk about RAS scores. His was really good.
Really good, yeah. David Rivera asks, Harmon and Shedeur Sanders both on the board at 21. I know you would both take Harmon, as would I, but what do you think the chances are the Steelers choose Shedeur? It just seems like if he's at 21, they'll pull the trigger. Would it be a reach?
I don't think it's a reach.
It's not a reach.
No, and I would understand it.
Yeah.
And I hope in a year I'd say I was wrong. I'm glad they took him. He's really good.
Yeah, we just talked about. I don't know. I don't feel like his ceiling is high enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a chance to be a good player.
I do too.
I don't know if he can be a great player.
That's my worry.
Yeah.
And at that position, I really want to swing for the fences. If I miss, I'm going to swing again.
Chris G. Steelers says, if Sanders falls to 21 and the Steelers draft him, do you see them using next year's pick that were originally planning for a 2026 quarterback to get back into the second round this year? I don't see them drafting round one quarterbacks 2 years in a row. Nor do I.
I can't imagine them trading next year's first no matter what.
No.
I mean, again, that's not a Steeler move. But I understand the question is if you were to take Sanders and, okay, then maybe I use next year's second to get up to get Alexander. I can understand that process.
Yeah.
It's probably not my
Or
route.
Tyreek Williams. Or maybe Grant slips to the
Grant's there at
early
35.
part of it. Yeah.
You know, I would understand it. I'm sure if I told a lot of people your first two picks are Shedeur and Grant, would you take it? Well, that sounds pretty good. You know, I mean, right.
Right.
And it's doable.
We got two more here. Matt Sable asks, if the Eagles, Dolphins, Bengals, and Bucks can pay two big-time receivers at the same time, why do people believe the Steelers won't pay both DK and George?
Yeah, you can.
You can.
You can.
It's
and
possible.
some of those guys have expensive quarterbacks, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Burrow's not cheap, and Hurts isn't cheap, and yeah.
And Joey Bag of Donuts asks, how close are NFL GMs to fantasy football GMs when it comes to trading? I'll bet they're pretty similar.
I bet they're not.
They're not, no. Think about your fantasy football league. How many? I mean, I make like 8 trades a year in fantasy football.
Right.
Like, I enjoy the trading part of it. I just trade, sometimes just to trade.
And you also don't mind if you bring a bad apple into your locker room.
No, I don't care about that. I don't care.
Right.
He murdered somebody last week.
Yeah, I don't care
unless
what
he's
bit
getting
if he's
suspended.
scoring fantasy points, right. Yeah, or you're pissing off Cam Hayward by
I also don't have to tell
in.
my owner that, hey, we just brought on $35 million in salary.
Yeah. You don't mind. All right. No, there's
So it's a little different, Joey.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Jaylen Warren signed his one-year tender offer today for his restricted free agents offer. And that was the thing going into this offseason. I kept saying, well, Steelers' top 2 running backs are both going to be free agents. Restricted free agents, they don't go anywhere anymore.
No. And it's like exclusive right free agents. Like, they got no rights. I mean, and restricted free agents, it's just a matter of where you tenure them, you know, and especially at the running back position in a running back heavy draft. You and I never thought for 1 minute Warren would not be a Steeler.
No.
I mean, no chance.
And honestly, if you think about this, and again, this goes back to the Steelers not having a plan, right? They put the second-round tender on Jaylen Warren because if somebody wanted to come out and say, okay, we're going to sign Jaylen Warren, then the Steelers get the second-round pick.
You make that trade.
Right.
You would say $5 million in cap space and turn Warren into Judkins.
Yeah. You're into the second round where you want to get a pick.
Yeah. And that might turn into Alexander or Tyreek, whatever.
Or one of the running backs.
Or then you take Hampton in the first round because you don't have Warren. And then you take one the 7th. You know, like, you win that trade.
You win the trade.
Yeah. If they would have tendered him less, I would have worried.
Yeah, because somebody then, because he was undrafted, you're not going to get a pick back. You get an opportunity to match, but you don't get the pick.
It really isn't even hardly news, you know, that he signed his deal. He really has no choice. He's happy about it. They have no choice. They're happy about it.
They give him the second-round tender. It's over $5 million.
It's a great deal for him, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't made a lot by NFL standards.
Yeah, the only difference is, as Max Starks likes to tell us, you have to pay that tax on that money because you're getting paid every week instead of getting the money up front.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you go.
Every state.
I
know we don't have time to have that conversation.
In another country this year. I don't know how that works.
Not good, probably.
Like your accountant is going, wait, I got to do this for 8 different states, and now I got to do one for out of the country?
For Ireland, yeah. That's brutal.
It's a little different.
And preseason games that are there and stuff like that, too. And, again, we don't have time for that conversation. It's a long one. But I never thought of that. Only players think of that, and agents,
I think about it all the time when guys sign free agent contracts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where are you signing at? And if you're signing
state income tax, I mean, what an advantage that is.
Yeah, you're going to Texas or you're going to Florida or one of these other states that don't have a state income tax, or you're going to California or New York where where the taxes are through the roof.
Yeah.
Your money doesn't go as far.
This isn't a couple $100.
No. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Lots of zeros on the end of this conversation. Yeah. And it matters.
Absolutely.
Especially for like a Warren. I mean, it's different if you're Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I mean, money's really not an object. But Warren might only play 3 more years of his life. His lifetime earnings might be $10 million.
Right.
Maybe, and we'll burn through a lot of it already. You know?
Just in, you're just. Wait, I paid $2 million in taxes on my $10 million that I made?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do that.
Exactly. I mean, all the checks you write to all the different states you played in and all that stuff, too, is crazy.
Yeah.
Max tells some crazy stories I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. But, Matt, that's going to do it for our show today.
Good stuff. One more.
One more before the draft. Can't wait.
Today's draft day eve. Tomorrow's draft day eve. Let's go.
Yesterday was draft day eve.
Yeah, you can keep on going.
E cubed. Anyways, for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard, and for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there on the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on that. We appreciate that. And I just want to remind everybody that Matt and I do our own stunts. I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.